Hello, I am reasonably British. Have you ever watched the same movie over and over and over again until you cease to experience the movie anymore? You've drained every last bit of essence from the movie and tossed its flaccid corpse aside like an emaciated gelfling, and suddenly you realize it's
2026.
and you haven't watched that movie in nearly 2 decades. Have you ever done that, eh? Well, I've done that with a few movies. Okay, how about I'll tell you my list if you tell me yours. You go first. Okay, ready? No? Okay, I'll go first. There's Fight Club, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Moulin Rouge, fucking Kick-Ass, Girl Interrupted, Lost in Translation, and finally the reason I brought you all here today. Probably my most worn-out VHS tape. From 1997, The Saint. I know. But just because you compulsively re-watch a movie ad nauseum doesn't necessarily mean it's a good movie. Actually, I don't know how good this movie is. I've seen it so many times, I've completely lost all perspective. But I do know one way to find out. To the internet.
Welcome. You've got mail. You've got chlamydia. You owe the IRS $20,000. You've got nothing. You've got nothing. Nothing.
Well, that's unremarkable. Certainly not worth the montage. Now, I'm not totally sure how or why this movie became my comfort food, but after some vigorous pondering, I think there are 3 main reasons I like this movie. So I'm going to divide this video into 3 sections. The first section being the supporting cast. Yes, Elizabeth Shue and Iceman are great, but I love the supporting cast. Let's start strong with Tommy Flanagan, who since the passing of Sean Connery is officially the most Scottish person. His first movie was Braveheart.
Braveheart comes to town. Patsy Pollock, casting director, sees a little bit of me. She comes to the theatre and goes, "Get right, have them wrapped and cleaned and brought round to mail tomorrow."
And what was your second movie, Tommy?
The next thing was The Saint.
That was
By
good.
Philip Noyce.
Yes, it was good, Michael. Oh, was that sarcasm? May I ask you a question, Michael? How are those maggots?
Maggots, Michael. You're eating maggots. How do they taste?
Patsy Pollock also worked on The Saint, and she and the other casting directors did an excellent job. Hiring actors like Tommy Flanagan immediately adds another dimension to your film, measured with something called the Defoe ratio, which is the total screen time of people who are interesting looking divided by the screen time of beautiful people. However, one must be cautious. If you allow the Defoe ratio to get too high, you are in danger of breaking the Buscemi barrier. Tommy plays one of Ilya's 3 goons, Scarface, Scratchface, and Skinhead. The actor who plays Skinhead, Velibor Topic, played the Russian in Snatch, not to be confused with Boris, the sneaky fucking Russian, who is our main antagonist in The Saint, who was also in X-Men First Class with Kevin Bacon. Oh man, that felt good. Braveheart and The Saint also share Malcolm Tierney, Alan Armstrong, and Michael Byrne, who, if you remember, has
no ticket.
Alan Armstrong was the loser of the Scottish pillow fight. Malcolm Tierney died in Braveheart and Star Wars, the first of the 3 Star Wars movies, sensibly entitled Star Wars. And Michael Byrne. Oh, Michael Byrne. I ask you, who doesn't like a good Michael Byrne from time to time? Are you making a thing? Are you looking for someone to play a Nazi or a wizard or a different Nazi? Do you need someone who is a Michael Byrne type? Try Michael Byrne. Don't settle for Huey Lewis. Huey Lewis is not Michael Byrne. He's not even an actor. Sure, he has acted before, but if you ask Huey Lewis to pretend to be Michael Byrne, he's just going to be like,
Boom, 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 boom.
That's not Michael Byrne, that's Huey Lewis. When you need Michael Byrne, don't settle for Huey Lewis. Okay, let's see. We also have this guy from Aliens and this guy from Alien 3. Oh, and Roger Moore, you know, Roger Moore.
Roger Moore?
Yeah.
Okay. I always think of Sean Connery.
Yeah, I actually think of Pierce Brosnan, but that's probably because of GoldenEye. Yes, the radio host at the end of the movie is Roger Moore, who played the original Saint, you know, after this guy and a couple other guys. And then there's this guy who, is he lugifying Tretiak's drink? Am I getting that correct? But the glass is empty. Besides the point, that's David Schneider. He's one of the 84 British people that are allowed to act for a living. You Americans might know him as this guy or this guy. He also was one of the writers for The Death of Stalin, among many more things. That said, I still think Tretiak's goons would have had him killed for doing that. Irina Apeximova plays Frankie, the owner of a subterranean black market art gallery, and a really nifty hat, who for some reason mistook our main characters for the two other Americans in Russia in search of a subterranean art gallery and are apparently looking for
The icon of the Virgin of the Damned.
the icon of the Virgin of the Damned. What is this? What's going on? It sounds like there's another whole movie behind that, like in Last Crusade, when Indy just brushes off
The Ark of the Covenant.
But the audience have all seen the first movie and they're all like,
Don't toy with me, you saucy wench.
I don't know if that line has a backstory, and frankly, I don't give a damn because I lost interest when I found this guy. This priest has always stood out to me because he's the only one in the shot not clapping. He's the only one in the shot who doesn't seem to give a f***, as if he is the one being forced to sit and listen while some old guy lies to you for an hour. This always seemed so realistic to me, and then I found the actor. His name is Guy Standeven. As of today,
May 2nd, 2026.
Guy Standeven does not have a Wikipedia article, but boy does he have an IMDb. He has 380 credits. Those are nearly Jimmy Hong numbers. I must learn more about this guy, but there's no Wikipedia. What do you do when there's no Wikipedia? Oh yes, I know what must be done. To the internet.
You didn't say the magic word.
Dodson, we've got Dodson here!
Blimey, the internet really does suck now. Whilst researching Guy Standeven, I fell into a hole I did not expect to be quite so deep. How deep, you say? Well, I started making this video 2 years ago. The best source of information I found on Guy Standeven was not the Google. It was a book, this book, which, if you're at all interested in obscure actors, I found to be very interesting and entertaining. I even reached out to the author, who was extremely helpful, and with your permission, I would like to return the favour and promote his new book. Okay, so here it goes. I'm going to promote something. Okay, let's just get my promoting hand lubricated, and here we go. Hi there, I am reasonably British. If you're at all interested in the life of obscure actors, if you're the kind of person who knows offhand the name of this guy, or this lady, or how about a little bit of this guy? If you see this guy on some random show and you're the only one in the room who starts freaking out, well then, maybe you'll recognize this lady. No, just ignore Paul McCartney. You don't remember her from any other movies. What about this movie? That is Fran Fullenwider, who has been in TV and movies alongside Meryl Streep, Paul McCartney, Jeremy Irons, and probably most notably, Lemmy. And if you're the type of person who enjoys this movie, and let's be honest, that's all of you, then I am sure you would want to read a book about this lady. The book is available from The Bezos. Links are below. Now back to the subject of this video. 1997's The Saint, which upwards of 30% of you might be interested in. On to the last two actors I want to talk about. Okay, I'm going to try this. Valery Nikolaev and Rada Surbidja. These two really make the movie. Boris the Blade just bleeds charisma, and you totally buy him as a Russian oligarch, even though he's not actually Russian. Ilya plays the oligarch's devil spawn shit brat with the utmost competence. I mean, it's so easy to hate this guy. with his fancy coat and fancy cane and fancy long hair and fancy henchmen and fancy Eurotrash house music and his fancy cocaine.
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 They got my jewels.
But I see they didn't get your cocaine.
Watch how he gestures to Tommy Flanagan as if to say to Val Kilmer, yeah, see my henchmen? I bet you wish you had henchmen like mine. I use only the finest henchmen. I buy all my henchmen at
John Phillips, London. I have two myself.
Oi, are you in the market for a small number of nondescript contract employees? Come on down to number 7 Savile Row. Ignore the front door. Go round the back. Ask for Mickey. Tell him John Phillips sent you. Bish bash bosh. No questions asked. And if they do ask, we sell fucking suits.
And I love this moment towards the end, after they've spent the whole movie fighting one another. Ilya has spent most of the movie trying to catch and kill Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer stole from Ilya's family, burnt Ilya's face, and now Ilya has Val Kilmer in his custody, and he doesn't even know it yet until he sees him, and his reaction is,
Oh, hi, Mark.
Moving on to part 2, the music, which we shall further divide into the soundtrack and the score. The score was composed by this man, who also composed the scores for these movies, and who, according to the internet, is a classically trained pianist and French hornist, but according to himself, he plays the
Piano badly, the French horn even worse, and don't even talk about percussion.
I am not really familiar with any of the Saint franchise before this movie, so I'm not totally sure how much was written specifically for this movie. The liner notes only mention using parts of the TV theme, so I think this and this are original to this movie. Yet he's made a point to intersperse the original TV theme throughout, like right here. The TV theme was this bit. I think Graham Revell's themes for this movie are excellent and turn a meh movie into a movie that's more, oh really? One might say it has a James Bond vibe to it. However, the Saint franchise predates the James Bond franchise by 25 years, although I can't say the same about the theme. The James Bond theme is from 1962, and as far as I can tell, the Saint theme originates from the TV series of the same year, 1962. Before the TV show, the Saint had a different theme which was supposedly whistled by the author of the books and used in the Saint movies and radio plays.
That's a nice whistle. I want to have it.
I think the love theme from this movie is the best theme to come out of the franchise. And without a doubt, credit must be given to Edwin Astley for writing the TV theme because it's surely the most memorable. Edwin Astley, who is of course related to the legendary British musician, the unquantifiable force on the music industry. One of the founding fathers of modern rock and roll, the cultural phenomenon that is Pete Townshend. Yeah, his daughter married Pete Townshend. Why? Who do you think I was going to say? The soundtrack is also very good, and I'd like to talk about two things adjacent to it. First is the musical genre trip-hop, which I wouldn't call the soundtrack trip-hop by any means, but I think it is a hard presence to ignore. This movie came out just after this album, and just before this album. Becoming X by the Sneaker Pimps is a great album, often overshadowed by its biggest hit, the song it shares with the Saint soundtrack, but the entire album is worth a listen. You have already heard this album. Yes, you have. It's hard to overstate this album's influence. I believe if you listen to Becoming X followed by the Saint soundtrack, then the score, then Mezzanine, you won't be able to ignore the through line. You'll also have a smashing good time. The second item I'd like to mention is a gift from the divine, forged by Zeus himself in the heart of the most powerful explosion on the planet. Its creation heralded a new age of prosperity and enlightenment for humanity. It brought about the end of war, disease, famine, and dial-up internet. Of course, I am speaking of the 1997 masterpiece bestowed upon the mortal world by the ever-benevolent Goblin King, Earthling. The Saint soundtrack contains 2 tracks from Earthling, if you count the European release. As well as having an Inception-type relationship with Trent Reznor, this album had significant influence on music-centric television and apparently even personal computing. If you haven't listened to this album, I do recommend it, and also Outside and Reality. This was an underrated decade for Bowie. We step forth into part 3, the gadgets. The gadgets in this movie are of supreme quality, and I think it's because they're almost realistic. Allow me to re-emphasize almost. You see, most of the James Bond gadgets are campy and/or fantastically unrealistic. I mean, an invisible car, a watch with a laser that cuts steel, a reliable British automobile. What are they playing at? Both James Bond and the Saint have automatic safecrackers, but an automatic safecracker that also makes photocopies, that's a bit much. At least the Saint keeps a toe dipped in reality. Kinda. There's something lovely about this shot, which shows the majority of his gadgets. I especially love the lockpicks, which are slightly redundant, cause his knife has lockpicks built in. You've got his aluminum extendo ladder of impracticality, which looks so sketchy. Then there's his suit that matches the ambient temperature so he can walk through a laser fence. Really? Another laser fence? But laser fences are so stupid, you could do the same thing with a dinky little motion sensor. Okay, fine, I'll go with it. My favorite gadget of his at the time was by far his phone, which is actually a real gadget. Sure, the movie took liberties with the UI, but you could actually buy this phone. Which I did. And oh boy, you forget how big these things used to be, but it is so cool. This is the Nokia 9000 communicator from 1996, which had a 25 megahertz processor with 8 megabytes of RAM. For a little context, his laptop, the PowerBook 5300 CE, had a 117 megahertz CPU with up to 64 megabytes of RAM. This one's a little beat up, and actually, it's the 9000i model, not the original 9000. It also stopped booting when I was filming this, so I bought another one. This is actually the Nokia 9000, and where is it? Ah, yes, that's the stuff. That's it. Video over. I made this video more for me than you. I just needed to exercise this movie out of me. Remember to buy Marcus Heslop's book Frantastic out on the Amazon today. This isn't a paid promotion. I just wanted to help a guy out. Okay, toodles.